If I were purchasing the home or selling the home, what are things that I would do on my own? And those are the kind of things that I do for my clients that goes above and beyond, I think, the call of duty for a typical realtor.
Welcome to the No Excuse Pro podcast, your weekly dose of motivation and actionable advice. If you're a realtor, financial planner, business owner, or anyone who's tired of making excuses and ready to take your success to the next level, you've come to the right place. Join your host, Kevin Brierton, each week as he chats with industry leaders who are going beyond the excuses to achieve their goals. So no excuses accepted. Let's get started.
Hey, Angela, thank you so much for joining me on the No Excuse Pro podcast. I have known you now for a number of years, and you really come to mind when I'm thinking about No Excuse Pros, both on the investing side and as a realtor, you come to mind. And so I'm so happy you've joined me. Tell the audience a little bit about your journey and what led you to your current position as a realtor and investor.
Yeah, well, I would say that, what makes me a little different than most people and most realtors out there is that I come from an investment background and obviously having a lot of experience with investment properties and really finding value no matter what the market is doing.
So finding value, tell me a little bit more about that.
Really just finding properties, communities, certain criteria of the market and areas of the market that are undervalued currently, and finding those parameters that are in high demand, and then just finding homes that meet those criteria to really find some hidden value so people walk into instant equity positions.
So kind of thinking about with the end in mind, right? What does the end look like?
Exactly. Well, really just setting yourself up for a really good financial position, because buying a home isn't just somewhere where you could live. It actually could really be a platform to allow you other potential investment opportunities later on.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what has been the one thing that makes a difference in your success?
I would say just the attention to detail and really honing in on a client's needs. And sometimes that requires me to read between the lines. It's not always black and white what the client is telling me. Sometimes they don't really even understand what their end goal might be, where they benefit the most. So that's really my job, is to kind of figure out what that is in the end.
So tell me a time where you were like they were the hero in their own story, in a situation where they were the hero. So maybe they stepped up and did something that was uncomfortable or whatever in their situation, though. Tell me a time where they were a hero in their own story and you helped them with it.
Well, I'd have to really think about a particular situation where that might apply. I would just say a lot of times people come to me with a scenario and they're not really sure how to accomplish it. They might come to me and say, okay, this is how much money I have to spend or invest in the market with real estate. What should I do with it? And then it's just a matter of putting together the puzzle to find out which strategy would benefit them the most.
Yeah. So is there any times where you had to overcome a major obstacle for a customer you're serving, and how did that make you feel?
Oh gosh, there's always going to be obstacles with every transaction and every scenario, just because that's the nature of our business.
Give me one scenario.
Well, there's been plenty, but one scenario could be where
If there's a real one, so I'm going to push you a little bit.
Okay.
Give me a real scenario, and don't have to use names or anything, but give me a real scenario so everybody can kind of really see how you overcame that obstacle and how did that make you feel?
Yeah, well, one that happened just last week was a custom home that closed for a client of mine, and we had a septic issue that happened at the very last minute. And honestly, if it wasn't for me staying on top of not only the listing realtor, but getting myself involved on behalf of my buyer client, I would not have, we wouldn't have been able to close. I mean, I had to get involved with the septic company, with the inspector, really working with brokers and, a lot of different repair people to work that deal through to fruition where all parties felt comfortable moving forward. So I mean, every scenario ranges with its complexities, but there's always going to be something. I don't think there is ever a deal that just goes like clockwork, from start to finish smoothly. There's always something that comes up, not just with the transaction, but sometimes with either the buyer or the seller. And, you just navigate those scenarios as best as you can and do the due diligence. I'm not afraid to make all of the phone calls and do the research that I would want to do if it was my transaction. So, if I were purchasing the home or selling the home, what are things that I would do on my own? And those are the kind of things that I do for my clients that goes above and beyond, I think, the call of duty for a typical realtor.
So that's huge. So this is one of the reasons why I really started this podcast around no excuses and run no excuse mortgage practice is there's so many things that you can just go, oh, that's the title company's job. No, that's processor's job. And believe me, as a professional, we got to be great delegators and then inspect what we expect. And I run my business that way where I don't want to meddle. I want to trust. If you're the buyer's agent, I'm going to trust that you got it. But I'm going to check in every Thursday. How's the home search going? Need anything? Do we need to do another strategy call with the buyer? Do we need to figure? So I think that making sure we have a great team, but also entrusting them, but also verifying it. So that's something that I think that's easy for either beginners to overlook, to not have the process maybe of the checkpoints they need, or experienced professionals to think, oh, yeah, that's no problem. That person already knows about that. They know about their wire. They know about their earnest money. I don't need to bring it up. They bought 2 houses before. So I think do you relate with that? Is there something that you put in place like that, even though you may think they know it, you still bring it up in your buyer consultations or seller consultations?
Absolutely. I think it's just another layer of follow-up, and really being thorough with that.
Yeah. So what's your biggest challenge right now your customers are facing, and how are you helping them solve it?
Oh, gosh. I would say I pretty much have to go into every deal with the understanding that I will probably be doing most of the workload on both the listing and the buying side, because there's just so many other realtors that are either part-time and don't really invest the time to do the job well, or they just don't really know how. And so I would say preparing my clients for that process, because sometimes in doing those different jobs, it takes longer to get answers, because I'm waiting on the listing agent that's waiting on the seller or vice versa. So just, being able to stay on top of all of that is really, really important. And that's gonna, I think, continue to be a challenge moving forward.
So a strategy we have that what we do, anytime we submit an offer and we have a pre-approved buyer and we're submitting an offer, we've done this with you as a client, buyer's agent client, we make a proactive listing agent call. So one of the things that we highlight in that call is that we have a buyer's agent that's amazing. You're not going to have to babysit them on the other side. Right. You know what they're doing. We're going to work together as a team. So we highlight 3 things. We highlight how well qualified they are without saying personal information. And we tell them the loan status update process. So what we do differently is we do loan status updates at the end of every Tuesday, plus 5 proactive agent calls, I should say, proactive calls to both agents. And then also we highlight the buyer's agent. Highlighting the buyer's agent is a little thing out there that is really, really important. So if you're another lender listening to this or a real estate agent, or even a financial advisor, if your clients are going in to make an offer as a buyer, it's extremely important that you make that proactive listing agent call. We do it in two formats. If I have the email, I'll do it in a bomb video format. And then if I do it as a just a phone call, it's a phone call and a quick text. And so it's how those, it's going to game changer on when we make those calls, because our offer is not just looked at on the price and the terms, but it's looked at as, hey, are we going to get this deal done? Do we have a good agent on the other side? What's the update status? What are we looking at from the lender? And so I know that you've seen that, and I think being proactive there and heading off those issues, because if you have an agent that's like, just to your point, maybe they've only done a few deals in their lifetime or maybe a few deals a year. I find that the low producers love it and the high producers love it. They both are like, oh my God, I've never had this call before. And yeah, awesome. You guys sound like you're on point. Let's do it.
Yep. Well, and just, you saying that it's providing a higher level of service than what is typically expected.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what will set yourself apart from the competition as things move forward and the years get more competitive, deals get more competitive. So I think really setting yourself up and having that differential is hugely important.
Yeah. Well, Angela, just curious. So what are two resources that you think like, man, if it weren't for these two resources, I wouldn't be here today?
I would say continued education and really staying on top of contract changes, market condition changes. I would say something that really differentiates me is just I have such a vast knowledge on the investment market in other sectors besides real estate. And so I know how the different sectors compare. And I think in so doing, you understand how the real estate market is in comparison to other investment opportunities. And then that helps you kind of put in predictive models and understanding what the future could be looking like, in the short term and the long term. And I would just say, yeah, the continued education. That's just really smart to stay on top of all of that, because you and I both know, after being in the industry for over 20 years, we went from, a few page sales contract to now a dozen pages and several other supplemental required documents in addition to that. And so the game has definitely changed a lot. And if you don't stay on top of it, then you're not representing your clients well.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think being ahead of the game, be educated, and then understanding the contract and how you're writing it, because you are negotiating on behalf of your clients. So if you can know what you're writing in the contract and make sure that they're covered, is extremely important. So you have less we always have a little liability, but a little less liability to do the right thing and know your craft.
Yeah.
What's your biggest pain right now you're experiencing as a realtor, and how can either a lender maybe solve it, or how can it be solved in general? Like, what's your biggest pain as a realtor right now?
From what I'm hearing from both buyers and sellers, sellers being people that are interested in selling only if they can find something they like to purchase that would prompt them to sell. And then buyers would be, people just looking to enter the market. Maybe they're relocating. I would say really it's an inventory issue. Having the available supply that meets the demands of buyers out there.
So that's interesting. So, I'm seeing the same thing right now. And so inventory, obviously we got to help people unlock what they're stuck in, because maybe they don't like the house, maybe they like it, but they like their rate. And so they're in there, which is, I totally respect. And then the other piece of it is that people don't want to sell until they find something they like. There are programs out there that are buy it before you sell options. And so they can actually go and buy the house, so they don't have to sell it, but they can be non-contingent when they go in and make the offer. buy the house, close it, and then they close their house after the fact. And those are some cool programs that allow people a little more flexibility, because I get it. I mean, you're like, well, I don't want to be contingent. I need the money. How do I unlock it? And then how do I go solve this problem? And then it becomes this death cycle of you're never going to get anywhere because, I got to find the house first, and then I got to sell it. Well, which one's going to come first, the chicken or the egg? But in the buy before you sell program, you can actually go just worry about finding the house. As long as ideally you have it all, you really want a pre-approval because you want to have an outlet of a loan at some point, because that's kind of how the underlying piece is. Because if you sell your house and you do the buy before you own program, and you don't have to sell right away, but then you're in bankruptcy and you got all these other problems, you can't get the end loan, then you can have a problem. But it is a solution for that. Have you ever run across any of those programs, or what's your experience with that?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I would love to hear more.
Yeah, it's something that we can take offline, and I can give you some more information. But it is a solution that might help you with that, and at least knowing that that's a possibility out there. So going into productivity and personal development, one thing that I've really love asking this question, so I can just understand more about what people are doing on a day-to-day. Like, if there's anything you can change on your typical day, maybe week or month, what would that be, and why is it important to you?
Well, that is a good question. I haven't exactly analyzed my schedule in that perspective, but I would say one thing that I'm starting to understand the value of more is connecting with people directly and having the FaceTime, the phone calls. Those are things that I avoided in the past because I didn't think it was necessary, and I think missed that connecting link. So I'm probably answering your question in a very different way, but that's something that I would actually change about my schedule moving forward, and I have made some implementations regarding that and around that to just increase the time that I'm devoting to connecting to my sphere of influence and associates.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. Like, why is that important to you?
Well, I think that it just helps you stay engaged with people and what's going on in the industry. And I think it really bridges the gap between all of the, competition and all the white noise out there, and actually making like meaningful connections.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So years ago, I went from doing more of like being in the business 10 years, transferring over and going to 100% referral-based business in 2014 was a game changer, because I started having to think about how can I do more with less time. So in 2014, I had our second kid, my son Xander. It's 10 now, and so it really had to shift. I was actually just meeting with a great hard money lender, 26-year-old go-getter. Hopefully Mike will be on the podcast at some point. And it's just funny to think about like how much different your schedule is like when you don't have kids or you're not married and you're like, I go happy hours and do this. A lot more FaceTime, right? Because your FaceTime is also your social bubble and you're doing your thing. But when you have to shrink down that day and go, what's really important? So then what I've done, to your point, is I've shrunk down certain things I need to do, but then I shrunk them down so much where I felt like it was a little less personal. So what I've done now is like, I want to spend work time with people that are doing, part of my group and tribe and people that I care about and helping. And so like less from more, but then you end up getting more from those people. And I say getting, but you're giving, right? We have to come with a place of giving. And I think that there was a post recently about, hey, should realtors expect lenders, or should lenders lead with giving a referral? And it's gotten me to think about, well, yeah, I mean, we all should be working together to find opportunities together. And if we're not, we need to give back. right? That's one of the reasons why we're doing the podcast. I want to give back with information, and then we can use this to spread our why and why we're doing what we're doing.
Yep.
And the only way we can do that is to know our community and know what they need. What solution do they need?
Right.
So that's why, this is uncovering a few things that just get my mind going. And I'm just thinking that's a big breakthrough. I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. Time is very valuable as you get older.
Well, it is. And that's where sometimes maybe we exclude, we say, okay, I don't need as much of this. There's a really good saying that I've been working on, and I've been seeing how it's going to build into my business and life. And it's based on the book Effortless by Greg McCowan. And it's a really cool book. And he talks about how do you make the essential easy and the non-essential hard? And everything from, like, you've heard, like, put your workout clothes in the bottom of your bed so when you wake up, you go to the gym.
Yeah.
Every little thing, how do you make those things that are essential? But then the problem is you got to figure out what's essential. So great, you made all the essential things easy, but what's actually essential? And so you roll that back, and is coffee with your bestie essential during work hours? Maybe, maybe not. Is lunch with awesome clients that used you 4 times that you really have never broken bread with? Probably a good person to go break bread with and just get to know them as a real person. And then all of a sudden you're like, I never knew that about you. You were from this person, and you start connecting the dots, and it's pretty amazing when you do that.
Yeah, that is. I mean, you're spot on about that, and just in making business a little bit more personal, because I think that personal element really is what will end up bringing more meaning and joy to your career path.
100%. So think about it. People can go online, get a mortgage, get a house, sell a house, do whatever they want, right? But they're coming to you, Angela, because of you and your knowledge, your personal knowledge, and the connection.
Right.
And so that's why that trust is there, but they're also connected to you as a person, not just a robot realtor, selling them a house. Like, they're really trusting you, but it's more than just the trust, it's the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's taken me a while to really kind of see through the deeper layers of that.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's easy to do when we're all busy, and it's like, especially the last couple of years where it was almost like, so busy during the COVID, times, busy with life, but also, the chaos of it, but the business side. So we're always try to keep these in drive time. So we're coming up on drive time right now. But what project or goals are you working on or particularly excited about? What are you working on in your world right now?
I would say my big undertaking this year is going to be learning more about really big remodel projects and restructure opportunities where you take a current existing use building, whether that be residential or commercial, and just really finding higher uses of opportunity for that space, whatever that may be, and just understanding what goes into that with rezoning, with construction, with permits, with HOAs, with any type of governing board, and the process with architects and structural engineers, and just honing in on that. And I think, just the remodel aspect of my business that I've had over the last dozen or so years, just taking that knowledge and really applying it to bigger projects in the future, and just having that as another way to help my clients and be a resource for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that helps them with their investment, helps solve housing needs, because you get a lot more housing opportunities, whether rentals or purchase. Yeah, that's exciting. So, Angela, thanks so much for being on. How would people reach you if they wanted a buyer consultation, a buyer seller consultation? How would they reach you?
Yep, they can go right to my website at American Royalty Real Estate. And there's buyer and selling tabs, and they can get some bio information on me, and my direct line is on there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You are a No Excuse Pro. I appreciate you being on the No Excuse podcast, where we're really helping to break down why we have excuses and, how we overcome those excuses to gain and to accomplish the dreams we have written down on the dream boards in the back room. How do we actually break through those excuses and actually obtain those dreams? So thanks again for being on. I really appreciate your time. And everybody, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Go to No Excuse Pro Podcast to subscribe, or go to any of your favorite podcast channels. We're on Apple. We would love a review on there, building up our reviews. So go ahead and provide a review on there. An honest 5-star review is what we're looking for. If we can get one of those, we're giving out these really cool kind of Yeti style mugs that, for a honest bribe on there for a 5-star review. Anybody that does that will give you a Yeti style mug. So thanks so much for watching, and really appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
And there you have it, folks. Another enlightening episode of the No Excuse Pro podcast is in the books. A heartfelt thank you to today's guests for sharing their wisdom, and to you, our valued listeners, for spending your time with us. If you're ready to ditch the excuses and level up, make sure to subscribe and find all our episodes at noexcusepropodcast.com. Don't forget, the only thing standing between you and your goals is the story you tell yourself. So no excuses accepted here. Take action and make it happen.